This is Ryan Cantor, a writer for TigerNet and Shake in the Southland. And in this video, we're talking about Clemson's new offense with new offensive coordinator Garrett Riley. To help us do that, we have Jason Priester from allclemsontigers.com. Jason, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on. So let's take a look at the offense from Clemson last year and from TCU. Clemson ranked 30th in scoring offense with 33.2 points per game, compared to TCU, who ranked 9th with more than 5 more points per game than Clemson. You can see they had more yards per play, more yards per completion, more yards per carry. They had less turnovers despite that. The one area where Clemson bested them was on third down conversion. And I think that speaks to how Clemson had a tendency to slowly matriculate the ball down the field, sometimes efficiently, but required a lot of plays and it would break down. What are your thoughts on some of the biggest differences we'll see between the, let's say, Tony Elliott, then Brandon Streeter offense of the last 2 years, and the new offense coming from TCU with Garrett Riley?
I think one of the biggest differences we're going to see is instead of Clemson settling for what the defense is giving them, they're going to attack and make you pick your poison, or at least attempt to make you pick your poison. They're not going to let defenses dictate what they do. They're going to try to do the dictating. And I think you'll see Garrett Riley use a lot of motion to try to manipulate some mismatches on the outside, something I think Clemson had gotten away from over the last several years.
Yeah, that's reminiscent of the Chad Morris days. You'd have guys running all over the field before the play.
Yeah, I think he wants to get guys in space and take advantage of some of the athleticism on the roster. And I think that's something that Clemson's lacked in recent years. You know, there's been a lot of 50-50 balls. I know there was a lot of screens and stuff last year, but in general, you know, over the last several years, it's been a lot of 50 balls, big body receivers. I think Clemson's got more of a variety in the wide receiver room now. A little bit more speed, a little bit more athleticism than over the past couple of years. And I think Garrett Riley can use that to his advantage and getting those guys out in space, using a lot of motion to create some mismatches and letting those guys make plays, pick up yards after the catch.
Yeah, one of the big talking points, more so in 2020 than 2021, was how DJ Uiagalelei didn't have enough around him. We didn't play well around him. And at least part of that carries over to last season, where the wide receivers really struggled. They had pretty poor grades from PFF, and just the eye test from a casual observer could kind of see it. How much do you think Clemson was limited by personnel versus scheme and play calling last year, and how much do you think that can change on both fronts?
I think it was a little bit of both, to be honest. I think Joseph Ngata, I think injuries took a toll on him over the years. I don't think he ever developed in what he could have been. We all saw the struggles E.J. Williams has had since he started getting injured. I just think it was a lot of things. Poor quarterback play. I know there are a lot of questions about the way receivers are getting developed at Clemson right now under Tyler Grisham. And I think we're going to find out in 2023 if that's as big of an issue as some people think it is. Those guys in that room now, they are all his. I think all of Jeff Scott's recruits are gone now. And I think the offense will benefit from guys like Adam Randall, Antonio Williams, some of those younger guys getting more opportunities, even though, you know, Antonio was starting last year, but Adam Randall being healthy. And I think there are a couple of freshmen that are coming in that will have opportunity to help right away too.
So 3 things that I think will be different. I shot a video on these 3 changes or benefits to the switch in offensive coordinator. I think we see Clemson be much more explosive. As I kind of insinuated before, they seem more focused on short passes and efficiency and not getting behind the sticks, and they didn't hit those big plays. And I think maybe in the NFL that's fine, but in college football, the name of the game is hitting the big plays. And it seems like TCU, and I think you even see that a little bit with their third down efficiency not being as good as Clemson, but scoring more points and getting more yards. I think they are more looking to, or Garrett Riley now us, Clemson, is looking to hit the big play, even if they don't consistently move the ball. Do you think we see a big change in explosiveness?
Absolutely. I think you see more of an effort made to push the ball down the field. I think a lot of that might have had to do with a lack of trust in DJ's ability to push the ball down the field. I don't think the staff ever fully trusted him for most of his tenure to throw the ball down the field. He just wasn't very consistent. He wasn't very accurate at all times. And I think you got a guy now in Cade Klubnik that can absolutely do that. He can make all the throws. He's got the arm strength. And again, I think Clemson's wide receivers are going to be better this year. I know a lot of people might not agree with that. That's just my personal belief. But I do think the explosiveness is going to return. I think that's going to be one of the big focal points. And I think tempo is going to be a focal point as well.
Yeah, I think we saw more tempo in that Orange Bowl. They ran up a lot of plays, but couldn't punch it in the end zone. I don't know. Do you think is that a offensive coordinator thing, or is that a quarterback deal? Because they did run some more tempo with Cade Klubnik at quarterback.
You know, we heard Brandon Streeter mention the word tempo a lot leading up to the season last year, during the spring, during fall camp. I don't think they ever – I think the goal was to use tempo more. I just don't think they were able to do it the way they wanted to. I think quarterback play factored a lot into that. And the way the offense kind of bogged down and had these long lulls where they just weren't very productive. I think a lot of things factor into that, but I absolutely think that we'll see tempo be more of a focus into the future.
So you kind of spoke to this last one. I think it's the most important one. There was a very specific moment against South Carolina towards the end. The pass was not working at all. The run was working great. I'm watching the game. I'm saying, run the ball. Do not pass it. Do not pass it. And South Carolina is stacking the box. They know that Clemson should run it, and they're trying to get them to pass it. Clemson calls a pass. It's one-on-one coverage, but it's a bad pass. The receiver doesn't make a good play. It's intercepted, and that's really where the game got away from them. Do you think Clemson will – how much do you think Clemson's going to say, you could stack the box, but we've got these two options on this run play, and one of them is going to work? Or do you think it's a little bit more of what we've been seeing?
No, I think Garrett Riley's going to make the effort to dictate to the defense what he is going to do. I know a lot of people get caught up in this term air raid, but if you go and look at Garrett Riley's offenses, especially last year, they ran the ball, 55, 54% of the time. So they're running the ball more than they're throwing it. I think he's going to make a concerted effort to get the running game going and not get away from it. And you're right, that South Carolina game was the perfect example over the second half of that game. South Carolina was giving them the pass, like you said, stacking the box and daring them to throw the ball, and kind of got out-coached in that game because they got sucked in, and that's exactly what they did. And DJ couldn't hit one despite the one-on-one coverage. He got away from the run, and the game got away from you. Absolutely. I think that you've got those two running backs, Will Shipley, Phil Moffitt. I personally think Moffitt is going to be a lot more involved in the coming season now that Garrett Riley's here. But, yeah, I think running the ball is going to be something that they make an effort to do early, often, establish that thing, and maybe the passing game kind of evolves or develops off of that.
Yeah, you've got to be smart and recognize the defense, but at the same time, you can't let the defense consistently take the ball out of your best players' hands. And that's sometimes what we saw last year. This is Jason Priester from allclemsontigers.com. Thanks for joining us, Jason.
Appreciate you having me on, Ryan. Thanks.